Hello everyone, welcome to Chungu cha Jamii. My name is Becky Akuku. I am your host this day, and I am so excited that you are able to join us one more time. At GBS TV, you find everything that you need, every solution to every problem, because we always invite experts who are really involved in areas concerning our lives. And it is such a blessing today to even have Grace with us, who is going to be joining us shortly to introduce herself and take us through our topic of discussion today. Welcome, Grace. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Betty. It's a pleasure to be here. And good morning, viewers. I am looking forward to us being able to have this discussion. By profession, I'm a marriage and family therapist, and I am very excited to be here so we can try to find solutions for our relationship.
Wow. Welcome, Grace. So today we have such an interesting topic. We're going to be discussing about conflict management in relationships. As people relate, there's no relationship that is just with one person, but at least two or more people are relating on a daily basis, at work, in marriage, parents and children. We have several relationships here and there. And today we want to talk about managing conflict. So Grace, probably you'll start by telling us, what is this conflict management?
Right. Now, we as Christians, we really have a good example of how to be in relationships. Now, to start off, we need to kind of define what conflict is. And I will say that off the bat, conflict is the opposite of agreement. So right there, we know what it is. Conflict is a disagreement and an argument, and sometimes it becomes prorated. It's long. So we continue to not agree over something. So we end up in an argument. We might end up in some type of impasse where we are not talking to each other, or we are calling each other names, or whatever it is, however we cope with the situation. But so conflict management is actually almost like, how do we agree to disagree? So in other words, we may not be able to. So when we're talking about management, it's how do we manage those moments when we disagree. And then we have what we call conflict resolution. That's different, because it's about now resolving. How do we resolve the conflict? But first of all, before we resolve, we've got to manage it. And so that is the way. So conflict is the opposite of agreement. So it's a disagreement or an argument about something. And then, so you need to be able to agree to disagree. That's what now the management is.
Okay, that's a good one. It's a very simple definition that it is the opposite of agreement. Actually, when people relate, Grace, it's inevitable to just disagree. I mean, people always have to disagree. They always have exchanges and quarrels here and there on things that sometimes we look at and we feel they're so petty, they're so small. But really, can people live without disagreeing? I don't think so. So if people are going to disagree, is there a level of graduating that we have been disagreeing on this, and now we have moved on to the next level, and this is no longer an issue? What are some of those things that people basically generally disagree on in relationships?
Now, most of the times, what people disagree on is values. So I don't like to feel disrespected. So if respect is important to me, and the way that we are disagreeing about a particular situation, I feel you are disrespecting me, that's what we are going to be in conflict about. It's not necessarily the issue about which school our kids will go to. It's what happens, the process of talking about the school that our children are going to go to. Me, I want the child to go north, you want the child to go west. So the fact that we cannot agree on that leads us into defensiveness, offensiveness, or even that feeling of I just want to fight for my rights. You are not getting me. You are not allowing me. You are not hearing me. So the issue is that in our disagreement, we are not listening or having interest in why this person is insisting on school west and this one is insisting on school north. You see? So it becomes about the process of finding a negotiating space. So as long as we don't get to the negotiation table, we are on this parallel move. Me, I'm standing over here and I refuse to meet you somewhere. I'm standing over here, I refuse to meet you somewhere. So we will stay with that conflict for a long time. And then what happens if we do not come to the negotiating table, especially within Christian marriages? We already know that usually it is we normally use the scriptures that say that wives submit to your husband. So eventually we will agree to go with the husband's suggestion. But you've got to ask yourself, did I give in willingly and I accepted, or did I just do that so that we can end the conflict? And so what happens if I did it because I needed to end the conflict for peace purposes, then I have to watch my heart so that my heart does not begin to develop resentment. You see? Yeah.
Yes, because like I said, it's inevitable, people always have to disagree on something. Yes. And so like I had asked you what people actually disagree on, yes. Are these disagreements general for all relationships, or there are people who have been able to overcome and move to other levels, and so disagreements are like not part of their lives?
Right, not necessarily. The disagreement is going to be there. What happens is that eventually, as we mature, as we learn to have empathy for other people, as we learn compassion and grace and practice those things, we come to a space where we come to the negotiating table. The people who have constant conflict never come to the negotiating table. They stay on their side. I refuse to come, you refuse to come, kwa hivyo tunakaa huko. So what happens over time, people in relationship, as they grow, as they move through the stages of marriage, for instance, as we move through the stages of relationship, we begin to develop what we call trust. We begin to develop a feeling of fondness for one another. Our friendship is getting deeper. So when those things are growing within our relationship, I am more eager to hear because I have interest in what you have to say and your way of thinking. What causes people to stay in conflict and unable to manage the conflict is selfishness, an inability to allow yourself to stop thinking about what you want and actually ask, let me find out where they are coming from. That's what we call empathy. So I begin to develop skills within myself that say, whenever we have a conflict, I want to listen and hear where my partner is coming from. So that now, whatever I say, in this issue of the conflict, it's going to be objective. I'm not trying to meet my personal needs. I'm thinking about the relationship. After we have said this, what is the relationship going to be? And let me add something else. Personality types. It's something that we need to embrace. It's there. It's real. Right now on my Facebook page, yesterday we were talking about melancholics. people who are deep thinkers, people who are analyzers, people who want to think through something in detail. And so if that person is married to the person that we are talking about today, who is the choleric is the leader. Let's have it done right now. Let's move on. Why are we mark timing here? You know, let's just make the decision and move on. So personality clashes can also create inability to manage conflict and to resolve conflict. So those are, and then what I say, if your values are not aligned, the way that you look at life is not aligned. For instance, let me give a good example. If you are a person who does not believe in people being secretive, you like openness and you like transparency and you like accountability, then you marry somebody who likes to be secretive, they are very suspicious, ukiuliza swali, they don't give you a straight answer, there will be conflict in that relationship. So the person who likes openness will have to find a middle ground. This person who is secretive will have to work on their trust, on how to trust human beings and come to the negotiating table, so that we are not having this underlying issue of how we see the world, our personalities, our belief systems that clash when we come to the point of negotiating conflict.
Okay, Chris, when you talk about personalities, and I hear you mentioning the cholerics and the melancholics, I know there are sanguines and other personalities, but so when you talk about conflict, is this something that comes from within or something that is triggered from an external factor other than just our personality? Is it that a conflict would arise because of the person that I am, or something has triggered it? What is usually the thing that brings up or sets up the conflict?
All right, so both. It is both who I am and how I see life and the external triggers. So whatever is going on outside of me, it triggers who I am, how I relate, and how I look at life. So if you shout at me, because I don't like being shouted on, it is disrespectful to me, then I am triggered to defend myself. So I'm not even now focused on whatever the issue is. I am focused on what you have triggered in me. So I'm trying to defend myself. That is why when we have conflict resolution, conflict management trainings, we talk about your conflict management personality, and one of those is, number one, if you are the person who is like fire, you have a hot temper. Immediately you hear something that triggers an attack, you immediately go to fight mode. Then that will be the person who has a lot of anger, and then they will realize later what they did, but they have done so much damage. They didn't listen. They don't listen. Then you have the person who is the one who avoids every conflict. So when I feel I have been triggered to feel I'm feeling attacked, instead of now being like this other one who just goes out and fights, I am going to run and to avoid. So I will turn inside myself. I will finish the conversation quickly, so I might agree to things that I don't agree inside, so that we can end the conflict. And then we have who we call freezers. Freezers are people who freeze. They are numb. They are not going to show any emotion. They are just going to be there. It's very mechanical, but they may not resolve the conflict. They just want to move on. They don't want to deal with it, and they don't want to stay there. Now, when you have the one who is hot-tempered, or the one who just deals with being, fighting, that person tends to really create havoc within their relationship. And then when you have the one who keeps quiet, Then they also bring a lot of hurt on confusion to the relationship because nobody can really tell whether what they are doing. They shut down and they refuse to come to the negotiating table because they don't want to be overwhelmed by going through the process of that. So what causes people to react in different ways it has to do with their personality. So if you are extroverted, you're going to fight. If you are introverted, you're going to avoid. And so you can imagine two people in relationship and they're opposite, it is going to be difficult for them to come to the table.
So in this case, if that is how indifferent and parallel couples can be, and also people who are relating can be, so then how do they live together? Because one is far west and the other is far east, and you had mentioned that they need to find a meeting ground, a middle ground, a working space for them to continue managing, as they manage their conflict, to continue living their life. But when someone is so extroverted, another one is such an introvert, and they find themselves living together, is therefore your advice that people who are extroverts marry fellow extroverts, and people who are introverts also relate to fellow introverts? I thought that unlike poles are the ones that attract.
Well, the truth of the matter for the couples that I see in marriage counseling, this is what I have come to realize. In the last couple of years, I've been keeping records of the couples that come because of conflict issues, and I have come to realize that they are usually couples who are attracted to each other because they were opposite. And the truth, the way science tells us that opposite attracts, negative and positive, they spark some fire. So that is what happens in romance. That I am attracted to a person who is different from me because they come and they actually complement who I am. So if I'm a quiet person, I admire the people who talk more. So I will be attracted to a person who is different from me.
But Grace, that talking more is what angers you in the future, and you start complaining that this person talks too much, or they're too quiet, they're too boring. What happens that later it is now a nuisance to you again?
It's the normal thing. When we get used to something, we stop appreciating it. And you see, in the beginning, when I'm attracted to you, I'm attracted to you on those levels, but I am not thinking about how in reality that would look like. Nobody knows that, and nobody ever thinks about that. You have to be highly emotionally intelligent to be able to realize that this person talking too much is going to be annoying at some point to me. You see, right now it's very nice because we are getting to know each other, and because I'm quiet, I'm nervous, I'm shy. When I go out with this person, it feels good because they fill in the gap. Because me, I'm not talkative. So if I went on a date with somebody who is as quiet as I am, as reserved as I am, it will be so awkward. We have nothing to talk about because we are not that talkative. So we get attracted to that, but we are not able to understand the implications of what this is going to be for the long term. And so right now, what is happening with premarital counseling is that we are requiring for people to take the personality test, and then we talk about what that would look like in marriage, and how the two of you are going to navigate that. So when we are doing premarital counseling, we are doing conflict management styles and giving you the skills to be able to manage the conflict. So if you are an avoider of conflict, we don't want you to just settle into that. That's the way I am. No. We are saying you are a dynamic being. You are created in the image of God. You have solutions and you have a way to navigate to navigate this terrain of relationships by developing skills of dealing with the anxiety that is triggered within you whenever there is conflict. Now, let me answer the question of how does our upbringing inform the way we deal with conflict in our marriages or in our adult life. When we are growing up, there is a way we are conditioned by watching. We are monkey see, monkey do. So if I grew up in a home where I saw my parents bickering with each other so much, it used to give me anxiety. And so as an adult, I feel I'm averse to conflict. I don't want it. And usually the people who are like that, they will either, if they are the introvert, then they will avoid conflict at all costs. And the way they avoid conflict is, number one, they refuse to talk, or number two, they just agree and they develop a lot of resentment over time. Now, the other person who is the extrovert, if that's what you saw at home, a lot of conflict and no management that was peaceful, then you grow up saying, I will never let my relationship be like that. But what happens is that you are fighting for that relationship, or during that time of conflict is going to be different, because you are going to be fighting because you are feeling attacked. You see, so you are going to fight. But you and the introvert are coming from the same space, the fear of conflict. You see, so we think that a perfect relationship, a relationship that is healthy, should not have conflict, because growing up, I saw conflict as a bad thing, because it always ended in either we kids feeling unsafe, or there was physical fighting, ama kulikuwa na verbal fight, and so I didn't want, it made me very uncomfortable. So I'm very sensitive to anything conflict. So I'm going to either run or I'm going to fight. But there is a middle, which is now the assertive communication. Being assertive to say, no, I cannot run and I'm not going to fight. I need to calm down and invite my partner to the negotiating table. So this kind of relational agreement would have to be taken by two people who are very objective. And that is why I'm saying, as Christians, we can get this from the power of the Holy Spirit. There is a very simple scripture that can help us in conflict management. And it's Galatians 5:22, the fruit of the Spirit. Love, peace, joy, patience, long-suffering, those nine pieces of that make the fruit of the Spirit. If we can bring our person, me the choleric, me the melancholic, me the phlegmatic, me the sanguine, and I bring my temperament under the power of the Holy Spirit, then I will be able to do conflict in a way that brings grace and brings peace within the relationship. But most of the times, we haven't learned how to do that.
Grace, when people are relating, no one is relating the other to fight. People are looking for relationships so that they can be happy, they can be peaceful, they can be comfortable, and they're also looking to fill up a void in them. So everyone is so positive about relating. But now conflicts come in, and they can do most people can do nothing about it. They can only avoid, as you say, the sides that they have to imply is just to avoid, to run away. Some people attack, and some people fight, and it becomes really difficult to deal with conflicts when they come to you. And nobody wants to live alone either. So somehow you have to go and live with other people. And these people some of them bring a lot of pain, and some bring some sweetness into your life. But when bitterness and hardship come to you, there are so many things that as I live my life, I've been able to learn, like, why do people basically fight? Looking at it critically and listening to you a lot, I can actually see that someone is insisting on, their rightness. Someone is insisting on what they already know, and nobody wants to be selfless, Everyone is so selfish, and I'm wondering, what is that you need to make you grow to that level? You already mentioned about emotional intelligence. And a lot of people have not learned this virtue of just being emotionally intelligent, to be the one who says, okay, you are right, you can have your way, without feeling bad about it. Where do people learn such kind of a skill of being the one who is lower than the other? Because naturally, Grace, people want to be the ones who are higher. People want to be the ones who are ruling, As you mentioned about the wives are supposed to submit, this is just Christian. But marriage is for all people, all races, even for non-Christians. So even the wife can get tired and say, I have always submitted. Do I submit even when it is wrong? I mean, everyone can see it is so wrong. This path is leading us to destruction. How do I just continue to submit morning to morning, every day? How possible is that?
Right. Now, the issue of what we look for in relationships is very important, the way you have put it. We need to identify, I will say this, for anybody who is watching us and you are in a marriage and there is something that triggers you to get into that space that we talked about, a disagreement space, then you need to sit down. Is this important to the school, or is it about me being heard and me knowing that my partner is seeing my point of view? You see. So when we talk about whether we are talking from a Christian perspective or whether we are talking from just general, the reason why people get into marriage are the same, and it is the need to connect with another human being, the need to know another person deeply, and the need to be known by another person deeply. So when we begin to disagree with one another, then what we need to do is to learn how to disagree without being disagreeable. So if Betty, you and I are not seeing something the same way, I need to offer you respect by saying, Betty, I don't really agree with you on that one. Instead of saying, Betty, how can unaweza fikiria hivyo aje? Unafikiriaga kweli? Because the moment I do that, I attack you. There is something that we call character assassination. And so people who are masters of conflict management, they stay away from character assassinating their partner. So they don't attack your person, your character, who you are. So if today my husband told me something that wasn't true, I don't need to be calling him, oh, you are such a liar. I don't need to do that. I don't need to label him. What I need to do is to tell him that, honey, I don't appreciate you telling me that lie. Obviously, that's a lie. It's not, and I have evidence to show it's a lie. You see, so that is much more going to deal with the issue rather than the person. The problem we have is that we are too critical of each other. So here I am. If I want you to show me love, if I want you, I cannot be a cactus. You know what a cactus is, Betty? It's that green that has a lot of. So here you are a cactus, but you expect me to hug you. Of course, I'm going to self-protect. We need to understand that human beings, just like the way we watch Animal Kingdom and we see, we are self-preserving first and foremost. That's why we have that chemical that is called adrenaline in our system. The moment you feel the place you are is not safe, adrenaline is released into your system, and you are ready for action. That is because first and foremost, we are self-preserving. Once adrenaline is released in your body, all of us know how it is. Some of us, we start shaking. Some of us, we have racing thoughts. Some of us, our hearts are beating fast. Some of us, we are feeling hot in the face. Some of us, our fists are beginning to go like, we start to make fists because we are feeling, we are ready for any actions. We are not feeling good. So depending on your personality and temperament, you will either hide or you're going to fight. So the middle of that is what we call assertiveness. So the thing is, we cannot use the word of God to hit each other on the head. The word of God interprets itself. It says that husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave his life for her. You see?
Because I like the point. I like what you bring in about being assertive. You know, the middle ground, But then, how does a couple or one partner in a relationship deal with the other who is so defensive? Anytime there's a conflict, they're always so defensive of themselves. Yes. Right. How do you deal with such a partner?
Now, let me talk a little bit about emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is something that has become very popular about relationships. For us marriage counselors, we are borrowing it to offer our couples help on how to manage their relationship. So emotional intelligence is about, number one, self-awareness. Get to know yourself. And that is why I talked about what kind of anger person are you? When you get angry, what happens? What kind of conflict manager are you? Are you hiding? Are you freezing? Or are you fighting? Then there is how do you like to receive love? In a relationship, what are your expectations of a relationship? Then number 4, you need to figure out what are your values as a person, because in relationships, I see people who marry people who are not Christians. For instance, let me just use that for an example. Or even as simple as I don't drink, but I marry somebody who drinks. That's a clash of values. In the beginning, when you're starting the relationship, it's not a problem because you're like, okay, well, he does that kwa raha zake. It's okay. But then in the marriage, you come to realize this guy, on Saturday afternoon, he would rather go hang out with his friends, with nyama choma and some drink. He comes home drunk, and you get really irritated. So the values that you espouse, you need to identify. It can go, the values can go as intricate as what should people do when they're angry. You need to ask yourself that. So self-awareness is very important. Jijue wewe ni mtu wa namna gani? What are you expecting from any relationship you get into? And then number 2, manage your emotions. Own them. Own your emotions. So if your husband says something and you get really upset, then you need to own being upset. Don't tell him, you make me so angry. No, what you said caused me to feel a lot of anger. That is your emotion. Own it. Before now you go and shout and yell and protect yourself and become defensive, go and calm down. Remember what I just said, Betty, that your system is already aroused. You are ready for action because of the adrenaline. So we call that the escalation scale. So bring yourself from 100 down. It's not the person who triggered you who is going to do that for you. This is you. And this is where now we are saying you manage yourself, manage your own emotions. Number 3, emotional intelligence has to do with other people. How do other people experience you? So when you are going through whatever the conflict is within, like the example that you have just said, the example of the other person gets more and more more and more defensive in every conversation. So what you want to do, you want to tell yourself, who do I want to be in this argument? Do I want to be the defending person, or do I want to be the person who is in control? So you can manage yourself, because over time, Betty, over time, the system is going to align itself.
Over time.
If one person changes, if one person then does something different. For instance, if my husband tends to be very aggressive and yelling and shouting, and I refuse to get in that, he will follow me to the bedroom, he will talk, but eventually, akiona siongei ataenda. So you see that over time, this is what I'm saying. Over time, this is not something that happens once or twice. It's over time. If I am emotionally intelligent, I will continue to manage my anger until this person realizes if they really want to talk to me and for us to have a dialogue, they've got to calm down. I have seen it happen. But
they have got to be sober. Yeah. They need to be sober, yes. I get you very well. I like the part you're talking about over time. It doesn't just happen instantly. It's not something that you learn today and tomorrow you have applied it and you have results. It actually happens over time. Grace, we have less than 10 minutes. And when you talk about the styles, let's look at the people who avoid. You know? Sometimes there's such a hot conflict, you really want to run away because you think that if you get engaged and involved, then what is going to emerge could even be a physical fight. And so, with emotional intelligence, don't know if that it is, you choose to stay away to avoid that kind of fight. Now, we're talking about conflict management. So how are these people going to manage, and how is this conflict ever going to be resolved? If whenever a conflict arises, you know, the other spouse is so hot, they just want to attack, and so the other one prefers, I would rather stay away for peace until when you're sober, then we can talk about it, you know? When is this ever going to be resolved, and how do you manage this? Is it going to be your way of life?
Now, this is the reality that people need to get. When you are escalated, you cannot deal with conflict. So everybody has to take responsibility for their self. Even this person, the cholerics, for instance, they want to deal with it right now. The melancholic needs time to go and think about it. So this is what I'm going to say. Number one, there is a technique that is called the stop technique, because I am aware of myself and I cannot continue in this. So instead of hiding and avoiding, I need to communicate. Let's use our words. I need to say, excuse me, right now, I cannot deal with this discussion and I'm going to walk away. I need to de-escalate myself and then I would like for us to deal with this when you have calmed down. Right now, we cannot be able to talk about it. If they don't listen to you, then you need to say, I need a break. I'm asking for a break. You're not giving it to me, so I am going to walk away. Not in protest, but I am walking away because I don't want us to continue with this. And then leave. If you cannot leave the house and you cannot go outside, then go to a room. If they follow you there, just don't say anything. Let them finish. And then, because this is what has happened, adrenaline has already been released. That's why I say that be self-aware. Know yourself, whether you are the yeller or whether you are the avoider. If you can do the taking breaks within the time, identify, no, we can't talk anymore. Number two, the person who is the avoider, because you don't want to keep avoiding conflict, you can use writing as a way of expressing how you feel. So after the conversation, you can go formulate an email. Emails are very effective. Watch a text. Text, leave it alone. Email, because the email, the person will have to read it. You see, the text, I just see the first sentence and immediately I'm beginning to text you back. So send an email, and this is the way that you do. An email needs to be, first of all, you talk about the positives about this relationship. Number two, you talk about your disappointment. And number three, you address the issue at hand. Don't call names, don't character assassinate. Just say, when you do 1, 2, 3, 4, I normally feel 3, 4, 5, 6. And I would like you to. That's assertiveness right there. When you do, I feel, and I would like. So you are identifying the behavior, you are identifying what it does to you, and then you are requesting for something different. Now, the people, usually what I say to couples who have been in conflict for so long and they are not able to find a solution, especially when the avoiding partner is not changing and they keep, and every time you want to talk about things, they don't want to be there. I usually say you need to come up with options. Option number one, we can stay the way we are and we are not happy at all. Option number two, we can go seek marriage counseling and try to figure out why we cannot resolve these issues. And option number three, we break up. And this is what will happen when we break up. These are the pros and cons of each of this. It's a better way of dealing with issues rather than trying to talk face to face and you are not able to. So what am I saying? I am saying if the face to face is not working and the taking breaks within the conversations is not working, try emailing. Yeah. And
I like the email bit because it's a very rare option. You know, who does that? A lot of people just do text and WhatsApp and stuff like that. But email one is a very unique one. I think it's a good thing for couples who are in conflict all the time to actually try that. But Grace, maybe this could be my last question because of time. You know, how long is it safe to stay in conflict? You know, there are people who, when they're in conflict, then they don't talk. There are couples who will not talk 2-3 days. Everyone just does their own thing. So everyone looks for their shoes, their socks. You make your own food and this. How healthy is that? How long should that last? At least in a healthy relationship. Because eventually they bounce back.
Right. I'm going to say this. It is not even how long. It is whether you ever resolve anything. Because it can be 2 hours, but if you don't resolve the issue, then it's going to be there. It can be 3 weeks, but if you don't resolve the issue, it's still going to be there. So, generally, what I want to say, I want the couples to think about it this way. If you keep quiet and you are rejecting each other, just know that you are destroying the fabric of your relationship. So it's what we are told in, I think there is a verse in Proverbs which says that be quick to make up with your neighbor before things get worse. The same thing, because we've got to have the emotional intelligence. Once we are able to be aware of ourselves, others, and we figure out how to work together, then what is going to happen is that we build the relationship. I want every couple who is listening to us to remember this. Every time you have a conflict, you are taking out of your love bank. You are withdrawing out of your love bank. You need to find a way to deposit back, because sooner or later it is going to be absolutely empty. So the short answer to your question is that it doesn't matter how long. As long as the conflict is not taken care of, it will become a cycle. So this is what I would say. If you want to sit down with yourself, each one of you, sit down with yourself and ask, why am I so averse to conflict? The person who runs away has a lot of anxiety and feels overwhelmed. The person who is fighting, they are feeling the same way. It's just that we are reacting differently. So we need to ask ourselves, kwa nini tunaogopa conflict? Why are we afraid of it? And get to the root of the problem and say, maybe we need to Google. There is so much information on Google about conflict management. And we need to read books on that as well.
Mm-hmm. I wish we had more time to do this, especially to talk about the conflict resolution, because there are men and women who try to cover it up and solve it in a very unique or funny way. Like you have had a disagreement with your spouse and they walk out and they come back home in the evening and bring you a shirt. And now you're smiling and everything is gone.
Yeah.
Another one comes back in the evening and brings you a chocolate. And that is gone. You know, you're back to life again. I don't know if that is the right way of resolving conflict. You could answer that as you give us your last word, Chris.
No, that's not the right way. Again, we've got to ask ourselves, what is the fear about conflict? So I am going to encourage people who are listening to us, take time to know your conflict management personality. Oh, I'm freezing. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
You can hear me? Yeah. So find out, start with self-awareness, get to know your conflict management style, so that now, and also your spouses, so that now,
is that the right way?
So that you can be able to find, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I was saying, get to know yourself first, know your style first, and if you know your style, then you can improve on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. I hope that that is not just the final, but at least it can help resolve that conflict for that time. Thank you so much, Grace. It has really been good listening to you speaking about conflict management in relationships. Thank you also, viewer, for watching GBS TV. My name is Betty Akuku. I have been your host. I hope you have enjoyed this program and you have learned the styles and the ways even to manage the conflicts you have in your relationship, because conflict is inevitable in any relationship. Thank you so much. See you next time.
Hello, viewer. Welcome to
Chungu Jajami.
My name is Tegist Hailu.
Hello, I'm Dr. Ruben West.
I'm Dr. Charles Mukuka.
From the United States of America.
I come from Ethiopia.
From Zambia.
I love Kenya very much.
I love the Kenyan people.
Love is not by confession. Love is by action.
Come on.